Bunny XO is facing her breakup with Jelly Roll without apology, and her story is just one of several celebrity marriages that took unexpected turns. Usually, before a breakup becomes official, there is a denial, a statement, or someone insisting everything is fine. Then, sometimes weeks later, the truth quietly appears in court documents. That pattern played out across nearly every couple on this list. Some divorces involved millions of dollars, others contained surprising legal language, and one even ended a woman's royal title. Meanwhile, one couple is still planning to expand their family despite filing for divorce. These are 12 marriages with endings that few people saw coming. 1. Amy Schumer and Chris Fiser. Their divorce became one of the more unusual celebrity breakup stories because of how publicly the situation unfolded. On November 6, 2025, Amy Schumer addressed growing rumors through her Instagram story, directly stating that she and Chris were still married. For a brief moment, that seemed to put the speculation to rest. But only a week later, on November 13, several outlets reported that Schumer and her husband, James Beard Award-winning chef Chris Fiser, were privately dealing with problems that can arise during a long marriage. One source described both of them as committed to their relationship. Then, 4 weeks later, everything changed. On December 12, 2025, Schumer announced that their marriage had ended. She shared the news beneath a throwback photograph of the couple sitting together on a New York City subway. The message carried the same personality people had come to expect from her: direct, humorous, imperfect, and deeply human. She explained that she and Chris had made the difficult decision to end their 7-year marriage. She emphasized that they still loved each other and would remain focused on raising their son together. She also asked the public for privacy. Schumer also addressed the rumors she knew would follow. She rejected the suggestion that the breakup was connected to her weight loss and pushed back against the idea that Chris had simply left her. Even while announcing the end of the marriage, she maintained her own voice and tone. She described the relationship as amicable and filled with love and respect, ending with the idea that they would remain family forever. The legal filing came soon afterward. On January 6, 2026, Schumer, 44, filed divorce papers in a New York court. Fox News Digital confirmed the filing, while her representatives did not immediately comment. Just 2 days earlier, Schumer had shared unfiltered bikini photographs and described 2026 as a year focused on self-care and self-love. She wrote about appreciating her health, family, and friends while moving forward without regret and with love. Schumer and Fiser had married in 2018, and their son Jean was born in May 2019. What makes the ending more emotional is the history Schumer had previously shared about their relationship. She had often spoken about how quickly she realized Fiser was the right person for her. Their relationship developed from friendship, and she later said she knew he was the one about a month after they began dating. During an appearance on Today, she joked about how quickly their relationship became serious. Not long afterward, they married in a small Malibu ceremony after roughly 4 months together. In November 2019, only a few months after Jean's birth, Schumer told Entertainment Tonight something that now feels particularly emotional. She said she had never realized she could love someone so much before joking, "No offense to her husband." She also explained that both of them had been surprised by how much love they discovered was possible. Their long public history gave the marriage a different character from many celebrity relationships. Fans had watched their rapid beginning, their family life, and their shared responsibility for their son, who has serious medical needs. Schumer also spoke warmly about Fisher's autism diagnosis. So when the marriage finally ended, her straightforward and unpolished announcement felt consistent with everything she had shared before. After 7 years of refusing to present a perfectly polished public image, she was not about to change that approach at the end. 2. Jessica Alba and Cash Warren. This divorce is the most financially detailed story on the list and brings an end to a relationship that lasted nearly 2 decades. Jessica Alba, 44, and film producer Cash Warren, 47, married in May 2008. Their separation became public in January 2025, after 16 years of marriage. The following month, both filed for divorce and listed December 27, 2024, as their separation date. In other words, the marriage had already ended legally during the quiet period between Christmas and New Year's Day. Alba responded publicly with a calm and graceful statement. She explained that she had spent years going through a process of self-realization and transformation, both independently and alongside Cash. She said she was proud of how they had grown together over 2 decades and believed it was time for both of them to begin a new chapter as individuals. Alba emphasized that they were moving forward with love, kindness, and respect and would always remain a family. She also made it clear that their children were their highest priority. Their divorce was finalized in February 2026. TMZ obtained the documents and reported the details on February 13. The agreement gave both parents joint legal and physical custody of their 3 children. Neither party would receive spousal support. Warren would receive $3 million as part of the division of assets, with Alba paying the amount in 2 $1.5 million installments. One payment was due immediately, while the second would come a year later. Their 3 children are Honor, born in June 2008, Haven, born in August 2011, and Hayes, born in December 2017. Attention quickly shifted toward the more sensational aspects of the story. Alba was photographed on a Miami beach only days after the divorce was finalized, and later reports said she was dating actor Danny Ramirez. But the more revealing detail may have been the $3 million settlement. It demonstrates how complicated large celebrity divorces can become financially. Neither side requested spousal support, which is significant considering the length of the marriage. The settlement appears to have been designed to equalize the division of property rather than function as punishment or a reward. When assets cannot be divided evenly, one spouse may make a cash payment to balance the difference. That issue becomes particularly relevant in Alba's case because a significant part of her wealth comes from business rather than acting. In 2011, she co-founded The Honest Company, a consumer goods company focused on household and baby products. The company went public on NASDAQ in 2021. A major ownership stake in a public company can be extremely valuable, but it is not necessarily easy to divide during a divorce. Instead of simply splitting an asset down the middle, a cash payment can provide a practical solution, especially when that payment is spread across several years. That is the less glamorous reality behind many large celebrity divorce settlements. The final figure is often not about revenge or drama. Sometimes it is simply the legal and financial solution to a complicated accounting problem. Alba and Warren were together for roughly 20 years and first met in 2004 while working on Fantastic Four. 3. Prince Bernhard and Princess Annette of the Netherlands. Their divorce received relatively little attention outside Europe, but institutionally it may be one of the most significant stories on the list. On January 23, 2026, Dutch royals Prince Bernhard and Princess Annette announced that they were ending their 25-year marriage. Their joint statement was brief and restrained. They explained that after 25 years together, they had mutually agreed to divorce and would continue caring for their 3 children. They acknowledged that the decision was difficult and asked the public for understanding and privacy. Their children are Isabella, Samuel, and Benjamin. What makes the situation unusual is what happens to Annette's royal status after the divorce. She will no longer hold the title of princess. In other words, ending the marriage also ends the formal royal position she gained through it. That gives this divorce a very different dimension from most celebrity separations. Normally, divorce discussions center on property, finances, custody, or support. Here, the separation also affects a person's formal identity within a monarchy. Her title, style, and official position within the institution do not continue once the marriage ends. This is not being presented as a punishment. It reflects how royal titles connected to marriage can operate. Annette was born Annette Sokrov and was not born into royalty. She became Princess Annette of Orange-Nassau in 2000 after marrying Bernhard, a nephew of Queen Beatrice and a member of the Dutch royal house. Her royal title came through that marriage, and with the marriage ending, the title ends as well. Their children retain their positions, while Annette returns officially to private life. After 25 years of marriage, 3 children, and decades spent within a royal institution, that transition makes this divorce unlike anything else on the list. 4. Jelly Roll and Bunnyzo. This may be the most unusual story of all. Country and rap crossover artist Jelly Roll, whose real name is Jason Ford, filed for divorce from Bunnyzo, host of the Dumb Blonde podcast, on May 18, 2026. According to East News and court records, the couple had been married for almost 10 years, while their relationship had lasted roughly 11 years on and off. That alone would have been enough to attract attention. But what happened after the filing made the situation considerably more unusual. Both publicly denied that infidelity played a role in their separation and said they remained on good terms. Then Bunny revealed the detail that completely changed the story. She explained that she and Jelly Roll were still planning to have a baby together. They had begun an IVF journey years earlier and intended to continue with it. That means they filed for divorce after a long marriage while simultaneously choosing to continue fertility treatment so they could have a child together. Whatever people may think about that arrangement, it represents a different kind of family structure than the public traditionally expects after a divorce. Their backgrounds make the situation even more striking. Jelly Roll has built much of his public identity around redemption. He has openly discussed his criminal record, addiction, and the difficult journey that eventually led him to mainstream success. Bunny Zoe has built her own career around being candid and unfiltered through her podcast and public platform. When their marriage ended, they chose not to present the situation as a scandal or public battle. They denied cheating, said they were still on good terms, and explained that they were continuing to build a family. They have not publicly offered a detailed explanation for why the marriage ended, and that private information remains theirs to keep. What is documented is the divorce filing, the date, their denial of infidelity, and the continuation of their IVF journey. 5. Jack White and Olivia Jean. Jack White's divorce stands out because of the unusually sharp language used in the legal filing. Olivia Jean, a musician signed to White's Third Man Records, filed for divorce from Jack White on June 3, 2026, in Nashville after 4 years of marriage. E! News reported that the court documents cited 2 grounds: irreconcilable differences and inappropriate marital conduct. The second phrase immediately stands out. Irreconcilable differences is commonly used as a no-fault basis for divorce and does not necessarily accuse either spouse of wrongdoing. Inappropriate marital conduct, however, is a fault-based ground in Tennessee. Its inclusion means that a specific legal allegation was made. Even without knowing additional details, the wording indicates that the filing had a sharper legal tone than a simple no-fault divorce. Neither White nor Olivia Jean has publicly explained the allegation, and no further specifics have been made public. That is where the documented story ends. Beyond the filing, its date, and the wording used in the petition, anything else would be speculation about a private matter. The marriage itself began in one of the most public ways imaginable. Jack White and Olivia Jean married on stage in 2022 at Detroit's Masonic Temple during a concert. White proposed to her in front of the audience during the performance, she accepted, and they married right there on stage. Third Man Records co-founder Ben Blackwell officiated while the concert audience effectively became the witnesses. The beginning had a dramatic, almost mythical quality. It happened under stage lights, in front of a crowd, and in the middle of a performance. 4 years later, the marriage ended through legal paperwork in a Nashville courthouse. The contrast is difficult to miss. A marriage can begin with applause and spectacle and eventually end quietly through a document that most people never see. Public performance and private legal reality can exist at the same time. 6. Bird and Megan Rapinoe. 2 highly decorated athletes and one of the most visible couples in sports announced their separation on April 17, 2026. WNBA legend Sue Bird and World Cup-winning soccer star Megan Rapinoe had been together for approximately 10 years and confirmed their relationship publicly in 2017. They became engaged in 2020. When they announced their separation, they released the news together through Instagram. Their statement immediately stood out because of its straightforward honesty. They acknowledged that there was no easy or simple way to share the news and explained that, after extensive thought, they had decided to separate as a couple. The wording was important because they did not announce a divorce filing. They announced a separation. That distinction matters because it accurately described their situation at the time. They also said the decision had been difficult but had been made together with love, respect, and care for one another. Their relationship meant more to many people than simply being a famous sports couple. Bird and Rapinoe were among the most prominent openly gay athletes of their generation, and their relationship became a visible symbol in sports, culture, and public life. That visibility made the breakup feel larger than an ordinary celebrity separation. Sue Bird's career explains part of that impact. She is widely considered one of the greatest point guards in women's basketball, won 4 WNBA championships with the Seattle Storm, earned 5 Olympic gold medals, and played professionally for 2 decades. Rapinoe's career carried its own enormous legacy. She helped the United States win the 2019 Women's World Cup, where she won both the Golden Boot and Golden Ball. She also became one of the world's most recognizable activist athletes through her involvement in the U.S. women's team's equal pay campaign. Together, Bird and Rapinoe became one of the most recognizable couples in American sports. They appeared on magazine covers, in advertising campaigns, and at major award events. For many young athletes, particularly LGBTQ athletes, seeing them openly together was meaningful. They were visible without apology or hesitation. That is why their separation announcement carried such emotional weight. It was carefully worded because they understood how many people had invested emotionally in what their relationship represented. When they said there was no easy way to share the news, it sounded less like a public relations statement and more like two people recognizing that their private decision would affect many strangers who had found hope in their partnership. 7. Samira Way and Lauren Morelli. Samira Way, known for Orange is the New Black and The Handmaid's Tale, and her wife, writer and producer Lauren Morelli, ended their 9-year marriage in early 2026. They announced their separation on January 29, followed by confirmation the next day that they were amicably filing for divorce. Their joint statement to Out magazine was brief but clear. They explained that after 9 years together, they had decided to end their marriage while emphasizing that their lifelong commitment to co-parenting would continue. They share one child. Their relationship also carries an important piece of television history. Morelli was a writer on Orange is the New Black when she met W.Y., who played Piers Washington. Morelli later spoke publicly about how working on the series coincided with her own coming-out journey. The two eventually married in 2017. Their story became one of the most discussed behind-the-scenes relationships connected to the series because a writer working on a show about women's lives and sexuality came to understand something deeply personal about herself and eventually married one of the show's actresses. W.Y.'s work added another layer to the story. Her character was killed off in a storyline that sparked a broader cultural conversation about how black queer characters are represented on television. W.Y. became an important voice in that discussion and later won an Emmy for The Handmaid's Tale. Their divorce statement is memorable because of its structure. It begins by acknowledging the ending but then shifts toward what will remain. By emphasizing their lifelong commitment to co-parenting, they focused attention on the part of their relationship that would continue. That gave the announcement a quiet sense of grace. 8. Kimora Lee Simmons and Tim Lehner. This divorce would have attracted attention on its own, but the larger public story surrounding the couple made it even more significant. In April 2026, Tim Lehner filed for divorce from Kimora Lee Simmons after approximately 12 years of marriage. He requested joint custody of their son and cited irreconcilable differences. Those are the central legal facts. The reason the filing received so much attention is because Lehner is not an ordinary private figure. He is a former Goldman Sachs banker who became one of the central figures connected to the 1MDB scandal, a massive Malaysian sovereign wealth fund case that became one of the largest financial scandals of the modern era. He pleaded guilty to federal charges in the United States, and his legal history has remained part of the public record.